looking at
Let's see which one it is.
the University of Oregon or even ISU.
Start with it. Yeah. Well, good. Good for you. Yeah, so I take it you like it out at Century?
It's amazing. I love it.
Is it to high school?
Do you have a big
So that
family?
would have to wait until.
So I'm actually the youngest.
I think time to go.
When you're on, I just wanna make sure, before we started, we didn't have any come water.
Yeah.
And someone would complain.
Yeah.
Okay,
The light turned. So respectful.
Okay, I hereby call this meeting to order and welcome all of you. Thanks for being here. We do like the crowd. Tonight, first thing on the agenda is Abby Longhurst will help us with the pledge.
Please begin in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, all our board members are present except Mr. Gersh, and he has been excused. We impaneled our student representatives tonight and welcome them here for another year. Going on the agenda, there are a few addenda to the agenda. A supplemental financial information, report on the human resources addendum, community relations and communications update, committee reports, out-of-state and overnight travel requests, additional funding for the Pocatello High School renovation project, neighborhood works proposal, student enrollment information, and continuous improvement plan. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addenda.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agenda with the addenda.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing all for the positive, that motion is passed. Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes. And I would, the one minute we have was the, it was the board meeting from last month. Don't have the date in front of me right now, but it was a board meeting. Anyway, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes
I move that we approve those minutes with correction.
with corrections. Yes.
I will second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hearing none opposed, motion is passed. The next on the agenda is the approval of minutes and,
No, claim,
The
or excuse me,
consent agenda.
consent, consent. Next on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. I feel every time I screw up on that one, every time. Next on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, which includes authorizing the payment of claims, approving the financial supplemental information as amended, and approving the human resources activity as amended. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as outlined.
I'll second that,
Okay? Any
with those items in the addendum.
Mhm.
There's some.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is passed. Okay, next on the agenda is Ms. Fisher to conduct recognitions.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, trustees, Dr. Howell, Ms. Johnson, and welcome to our new student representatives. We're lucky to have you. So tonight we're recognizing several individuals who through their endeavors have supported our and embodied our district's mission, vision, beliefs, and goals to think, learn, and be more together. So I would like to invite Mrs. Robin Christensen and her debate students to please join me at the podium. Come on up. So students, if you would please introduce yourselves to the board and state your name and school that you attend, please.
I'm Jackson Neal, I go to Highland.
Mandy Shu and I go to Highland.
Coulter Berger, I go to Highland.
So we invited all the debate teams to join us this evening, and these were the ones that were able to attend this evening. So out of 253 teams participating in public forum and debate, Highland High School juniors Jackson, and Arunab Sarkar, and he was not available to join us tonight. But these two individuals took 7th place in the nation at the National Speech and Debate Tournament, June 17th through 21st in Dallas, Texas. The duo competed in 14 rounds of competition taking place over 4 days. Niels and Sakar's placement in the top 14 of the 2019 tournament earned the team an automatic qualification to the 2020 Tournament of Champions at the National Speech and Debate Tournament, which will be held in Albuquerque, New Mexico, June 14th through 19th, 2020. Only 3% of students nationwide who compete in speech and debate qualify for the National Speech and Debate Tournament. So this is just an amazing accomplishment. Coach Robin Christensen from Highland and assistant coach Caden Marchetti accompanied 5 Highland High School students to nationals: Arunab Sarkar, Jackson Neild, Mandy Zhu, Jasmine Usher, and Colton Barker. From Pokey, Coach Marcy Kerr and assistant coach John Bollinger accompanied 4 Pocatello High School competitors to nationals: Jessica Becker, Noah Forbloom, Madison Villa, and Ricky Meisner. Meisner broke to the triple octa-final round with her teammates, composed of individuals from 3 different schools in the World School Debate. Coach Chris Boatman accompanied 4 Century High School competitors to nationals: Wells Crosby, William Yeck, Jack McCabe, and R.T. Rodriguez. So we just wanted to welcome these guys and recognize them in front of the Board of Trustees for their amazing accomplishment, and also Mrs. Christensen for the wonderful work that she does with her speech and debate team at Highland High School, as well as our other coaches at Pocatello High School and Century High School. Thank you so much, and we congratulate you on and wish you the best of luck at nationals and all of your tournaments coming up this year. Thank you so much. And I have certificates for you.
Awesome job.
I saved your picture. I'll give it to you.
I've got a bunch of them.
Do ya?
Congratulations.
Well done.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Happy hockey.
Sir,
Congratulations. Job.
not a stranger. Keep coming back. Okay.
Congratulations. Thanks for what you do.
Okay. Next, it's time for public comment for items that are not on the agenda, and I have not received requests, so we'll move on. Time for student reports, and Pocatello's up first. Kaylin.
Is right here
Donald.
fine? Is this okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
So I'm the representative from Pokey. We have started Pokey Nation, which is a student body cheering section for our games. Our senior class president, Matthew Nye, and Addison Spillett are co-presidents with Natalie Call as our advisor. Pokey Nation has been in charge of 2 tailgate parties. The third one is on Friday. If you've attended football, volleyball, or girls' soccer games, you have seen them in force. All students at PHS are invited to join Pokey Nation. The more, the louder. They say the more, merrier. Then homecoming week is September 30th through October 4th. The 30th on Monday is our royalty assembly with Mr. PHS at 7. On Tuesday the 1st is our blood drive and a volleyball game. Wednesday the 2nd is our fall sports assembly, our all-school lunch, and our ghost hunters and their haunted tours. On Thursday the 3rd, we have our homecoming football, the tailgate at PHS, and then a noise parade to the Holt Arena. And then Friday the 4th is our homecoming. Girls soccer is 6-0, and we have 1 tie. Drama held their annual car show last weekend. It was a good turnout. We have a new club at PHS. It's Business Professional of America. So if kids are interested, they can join that. And then we also have our haunted house coming up, which is October 25th, 26th, and 28th.
Thank you.
In my day, they called it Pep Club. But they called it Pep Club in my day instead of your Pokey Nation, is that what you said?
Yes. And then we also have the Pokey Priders, which is the parent group.
The parent
So
group.
that's also involved as well.
And I did visit your school last month and ordered me one of those ghost T-shirts. I did.
Yeah, they're on sale.
Yeah.
Okay, next up is Century High School, Emma Watts.
All right. First of all, I just wanted to say that it's an honor being a representative, and Century has had a crazy but great start. So, we had an amazing first day of school assembly with our annual senior siblings, where every freshman gets a senior buddy, and they get to meet them, and the senior gets to show them around, and they even have lunch with them. So. And then we also painted 250 rocks for the Walk to Fight Suicide Walk, which was last Saturday. We had a great homecoming week last week with lunch activities and a Friday assembly. And at the homecoming game, we had a special performance where band, cheer, and dance had a combination performance. Student council has also made locker posters for all the school sports, and we put them on their locker. And then tomorrow, to go along with the kindness week, the kind community that was on Monday, we are handing out 2 McDonald's cards, which is a 1 free medium extra value meal to someone that we see is doing kindness, and they get to keep one of the cards. And then from there, the person that was received a card will hand out another card just to spread some kindness. And then we also got to play our first JV football game under our new lights, so thank you for that. It was awesome. And then we also have 3 National Merit semifinalists for the SAT. And we have our annual STAR project, where this one is for Bailey Hodge, and it gives 5 characteristics about them, and we make one for every single student. And so for this one, it has a piano, tennis, she loves sunflowers, and a guitar, and she also loves hammocking. And we give these out at the end of the year, so it's a all-year project, all-year-long project. So, yep.
So you make those in student council?
Mm-hmm. We cut them out, and then at the beginning of the year, each student fills out a little get-to-know-you piece of paper, and then from there we make a star for them, and then hang them up in the hall.
Next up, Highland High School, we have Easton Wheelock.
Okay, at Highland, back to school night is tomorrow. And we want to thank Connections Credit Union for providing the dinner for Highland students and their families at 5:45, just before the school night begins. That's about it.
Okay, thank you. And from A New Horizon, we have Dylan Turpin.
Yes, that is correct. At New Horizons, we don't have much going on because we are a small school. But what we do have going on is we are working really hard on our homecoming parade float. Okay. We're hoping that turns out really well. We now have vape detectors in the bathroom, which is honestly a good thing because some kids need taught a lesson. But that's about it, other than our attendance policy has been changed, and I believe that that's going to make it so students show up to school more often than not, and that's it.
Good, thank you.
And I like that you get involved in the homecoming parade thing, too. It's a good thing.
He needs to tell you what it is, though. Tell him about the flow idea. Unless it's confidential.
I mean, it's not really confidential. The float idea is a Scooby-Doo theme float. To, even though we're not Pocatello High School, we're going to use Pokey High because it's haunted. I didn't watch the episode to see if it is or not. I'll have to watch it. But it's Scooby-Doo themed. We're actually using my van and painting it in ISU colors to make it look like the Mystery Machine. And hopefully it just turns out the way we want it to.
Good, thank you. Now, you can stay here tonight with us, or you're excused.
I actually have to go help my family.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Yes.
Thank you.
See you next month.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, next, community relations. Ms. Fisher, Community Relations and Communications Update.
Good evening. Okay, over the past month, popular social media posts and other education news of interest in the public purview include progress on the PHS project, Kind Week, which started yesterday, attendance, and some transportation. So I did 2 interviews today that will be on both KIFI, Local News 8, and KPVI, just talking about transportation and solving some of the challenges. Regarding social media, our likes and page follows on Facebook are holding steady, just a little over 7,500, and follows just around 8,500. Total post engagement, which includes comments, likes, and shares, was 10,000, almost 11,000. We had 2,358 page views, and our total reach was 13,810. So those numbers are pretty steady. Our Instagram boosted from 300 to 350, so that is raising really quickly. I'm liking that, and Twitter's holding steady around 270. Google Analytics, we had about 32,000 users with 60,000 sessions, and our mobile usage, this was interesting, for the last 28 days was at 47.2%, whereas right at back to school it was 60%. So that means just about half are using mobile phones and half are using desktops to access the district website. Our top 10 most frequently visited pages are food services, and this is in order of visits. Home page, food services for elementary, PHS home, maps, district links and forms, transportation, HHS, Highland High School home, food services, the main page for food services for secondary, and then Century. So it was interesting to me that the top 10, each one of our high schools fit into the top 10 views. Regarding community relations, I wanted to make you aware that on September 23rd, we're going to be launching a new program it's called Purposity. Purposity is a digital platform that's dedicated to inspiring people to live generously and find purpose. This program is going to be managed by our community resource workers, and I'll be supporting their efforts to educate the public about this opportunity to support our learners directly and some of their needs. How does Purposity work? Users download an app. It's an app-based platform, and they connect to the needs of the school district. So our CRWs will be identifying needs through the work that they do in the schools, those basic needs like new pair of tennis shoes or a new pair of pants or something. The average gift that's given through this is about $30. So it connects people who want to give and support what's going on in our schools, a direct way to support that. It's through an anonymous process where they read the story about the need, they click on it, it's done through Amazon, it's fulfilled, it goes directly to the schools, and they never know it, the personal information of that student. So it's a really neat thing that we're excited to launch. The CRWs are extremely excited about it, and I'm excited to communicate and educate with the public and support that effort to get those needs served. Do you have any questions about that? Yes, I will try.
How do you get the app?
So you can that's a good question, I actually had that on here, Google Play or the App Store. So it's supported by both Android and iPhone, Apple.
You know, I've had a lot of people approach me in other years saying, how can we help these kids who need help with things and this and that. So that's a great idea
it is.
and way thing to start up to help them.
Yes, and I will continue to update you through the months, and especially, it's a great time to launch this right before the holidays, get it going a little bit. And so Paula Miller wrote an editorial, so we'll be doing some media and having some stories out there to get this out.
And I also have noticed, I think are the school district chat groups or something kind of they have, or something on Facebook or something that I see where and it informs me of people out in my area and issues or things that they're having, say with buses or bullying or something.
Right.
And it helps, it helps me so that I can check into some things with our secondary directors or whatever. So those pages are somewhat helpful and informative too.
Yes, they can be.
Yeah, they can be. And everything you read on there, isn't, on Facebook isn't true, but it is nice to see concerns and a lot of positive things.
Right, there are a lot of positive
lot of
things, and it's
positive things.
those pages aren't monitored or driven by the district, they're driven by parents.
Right.
But we do monitor that content on a daily basis to make sure that what's out there, if there are things that, accuracies we can
Right.
correct or issues that we can help solve, then that's a good forum for us. And we also push information to those pages too when we have something to push out that we feel like those parents need to know.
And there have been a lot of positive things too, so
Well, it's a good avenue for other parents to jump in when they see something inaccurate reported on those pages. We have a lot of parents that stand up for what the district is doing on those
or
pages.
just help answer people's
Yep,
questions.
Absolutely.
That they don't know about, so.
Any other questions about Proposity? Okay, just want to give you a quick update. The Everyday Matters campaign is in full swing. September is Attendance Awareness Month. So the city of Chubbuck did a proclamation that was accepted by Dr. Howell. The city of Pocatello did a proclamation for September Awareness Month, and that was accepted by Sue Pettit and Lori Craney. You'll notice as you drive by our schools that Everyday Matters is on all of our reader boards. It's on our district reader board. We've got social media posts. If you go out to dinner at, say, Mama Inez or another local restaurant that has Jeeves ads, you will start seeing district Everyday Matters and other information that we want to push out on those editorials, and then we'll be doing ongoing activities on a month-by-month basis. And then the last thing I have to report is about Kind Week. Kind Week kicked off with a kickoff celebration in Old Town with a ribbon cutting, so thank you to those of you who attended that. We estimate that we had about 5,000 people last night. It's a great way to celebrate Kind Week and kick it off as we do activities in the schools. So I just wanted to let you know what was happening in the schools this week. We delivered, in partnership with Kind Community, Kind Kits to every elementary, middle school, and high school in Pocatello. Those kits included Kind Pledge banners, and every elementary and middle school received 3 copies of local author Wendy Swar's book, A Monster Like Me. We really wanted to support the district's efforts with literacy this year. So that was a fun thing for us to be able to take the local author and support a local author who, she offers field trips at her farm, Swar Farm, so she is an integral part of this district already. And then I wanted to let you know that Amy's Kitchen donated more than 7,000 candy bars for elementary schools, staff and students. They'll be handing those candy bars out. That is a very substantial donation, so we appreciate Amy's supporting our learners in this way. And then I wanted to let you know the addendum in your packet is an event that we're hosting at the school district in the boardroom on Thursday, September 19th from 6 to 8. It's a panel discussion that invites partner agencies to connect parents to resources for any issues that our local youth might be facing. So if you're out and about and would like you to attend that. Last year it was our first annual, and it was very, very interesting discussion, lots of important issues. So we're excited for that.
I wish we could be there, but that's the night that we have our ISBA Region 5 meeting.
Yes, so we already have a commitment.
Okay,
that night.
well, I did want to let you know that was happening, just so it was on your
We
radar.
want you to know that we care, but we.
Absolutely, I will give you an update, and maybe I'll check in with your schedules next year as that event gets planned. Any other questions for me? Okay, thank you so much.
The next is board members, any committee reports you'd like to?
Oh, and I went to Judge Murray's meeting
Yeah.
today. I was really impressed with the number of people who were there.
Yeah, good turnout.
Courtney and Carmen were there as well, Paul and I. But it's just a great way to help people coordinate what's available in the community. One of the things that was coming up was mental health resources that are available and how to gain access to them. So that was, one really positive.
The Wraparound Program was the thing that,
Yeah.
where people are, kids or families are referred, and there's a wraparound in terms of providers all getting together, figuring out what needs to be done and who's going to be the, the main clinician or provider of services. And they all get together and with the family.
The recipient, the person who needs the help,
Is
can
also
also
there.
say, who would be helpful to me?
Right,
Who
yeah,
could I
they
work
can
with?
identify,
They can.
yeah. So it's,
Empowering them to. some
right, so
extent.
it's gonna be a really good program, I
Yeah.
think.
And I think there's some other, there are ways in which, and I think it's a lot Judge Mary's effort, but people really begin to recognize things like the fishing program.
Oh,
for
yeah.
Kids who are kind of at risk, and they're teaching them fishing skills, but at the same time, they're weaving in life skills with the, that kind of thing, so. They do a one-off fishing buddies thing in the summertime,
Yeah,
and then I think this is kind of.
they'll
the-
probably be doing something in some fishing in the fall, because they're gonna be fly fishermen, that they're learning how to tie flies.
Yeah.
And so it's gonna be, it's just not gonna be drowned in worms. These guys are gonna be experts.
Yeah, but I just find it a wonderful thing that people try to find ways to reach those who may not have those resources to their home.
And it was nice to receive the August community prevention meeting notes.
Mm.
The-
Mhm.
the notes that we got on our board was,
Those are from last month.
yeah,
of
that's what I said,
December,
the August. It was nice to get those. And then I needed to let Renee know that I will be at the Key Communicators. That's coming up.
Is anybody else planning to attend that one?
That's tomorrow.
Not key communicators.
It's not tomorrow.
No.
No, next week, isn't it?
Next week I have
Yeah, I could go there.
curriculum.
We have another lunch.
Okay,
I
I can
don't
go
know
there.
whether I'll make it to instruction tech, because I have another meeting. Okay,
Okay, moving on. It's time for the curriculum, instruction, and school safety. Ms. Craney will talk to us about Head Start. Thank you.
Good evening. The program is at full enrollment for Head Start with 183 students. There is a wait list for both the 3- and the 4-year-old classrooms, and advocates are continuing to take applications. As you are aware, I'm sure, there was a flood there last week. And so on Monday, we have one of our classrooms that is the extended classroom. And so they were not able to have class on Monday or Tuesday last week. So because they've designated the number of days that they have to go to school for those extended day class, or I don't know if you want to call it an extended day, but the 6-hour day classrooms, they had to add on an hour a day for 12 days in order to make up those 2 days that they canceled class. So they are back in the swing. Ms. Bray had said it's hard to remember that there was even a flood because they're back into it right now. So anyway, that is how they did have to accommodate there. That they did not have to do that. They had days built in for, there were some other classrooms up closer to the office, and they were the 4-day-a-week, 4 hours a day classrooms, and so they did not have to add on because they had time built into the calendar for that.
They're not busing yet, are they?
They're not busing, but they're getting ready to bus. So we're hoping that by the end of October, beginning of November. So right now they're they're getting ready to hire. So
I was just thinking about how that impacted parents to have to figure out schedules around one more hour today.
yeah, that would be so. And they've made lots of phone calls. That's what they were. The teachers were all very busy making phone calls and contacting parents and all. So for personnel, there is one part-time position open for an aide. Bus drivers interviews are being conducted this week. 4 positions there. The program's also looking for substitute classroom and kitchen aides. The annual program information report was submitted on August 31st. I believe it's in your packet this time. The data indicated continued compliance in meeting the federal program regulations, and Ms. Bray spoke to you about that last week. On September 14th, the program submitted the annual CACFP application for the 2019-2020 school year. Policy Council parents' elections are the week of September 23rd, so next week, and the new Policy Council will be seated and officers selected by October 10th. The current policy council is sponsoring a Head Start float in the ISU homecoming parade. So it sounds like there's going to be lots of floats from the school district in the parade. Former Head Start students who graduated from ISU will be invited to join the float. Okay, any questions about Head Start?
Before we go on, I'll forget, and maybe this should be directed to Bart, but what happened with this flood? What caused it? I'll forget to ask when your time's up, sir.
A lot of water coming into
Yeah, but
that
how? But
from
how?
the
We've
pipe.
had
This
it
is the
before.
second time, though.
This is
we've
a
had-
different type of flood than what,
Is it
yeah.
a different type? Okay,
If there's any such thing as a good flood, this was a better flood than the last one.
okay.
The last one was actually from natural causes. We had water that came down out of the gully up above the school and came down into the school, and so a lot of that was very contaminated type water. But this particular one was clean, potable water. There was a water tank that had an expansion tank on there, and that expansion tank split sometime probably Friday night or Saturday morning, and it was discovered Sunday by a teacher that happened to come into the school there. Saw water
Miss
on.
Bray.
Oh, was it Mrs. Bray? Okay, I wasn't sure who actually discovered it. And so immediately we got the water shut off, found the source of where that had happened, started bailing water, started sucking it out of the schools, getting the carpets extracted, desanitized, deodorized, and all those sorts of things. So really kudos to our maintenance department that went to great efforts to get that done. We actually had to call in a professional contractor to help us get the water out sooner rather than later, just because that's the most immediate need, and we were back up and running fairly quickly. So, and the Head Start staff did a remarkable job there, helping with furniture, getting things out, getting things dried, etc. So we all worked together.
Good, thank you.
There was a lot of water. The 21st Century After School program will start on September 30th. We met with principals today to start getting students enrolled in the program. The training is this week, and they'll be training on policies, behavior management. One of the exciting things, I think that, the whole program is exciting for kids, but one of the things that we have going for next year is at the middle schools at Irving and at Hawthorne, they've signed up to do the NASA STEM Challenge. And so it's a project-based program. They do things like build pressure suits, and they consult with NASA engineers. So we're excited to see how that's going to be for our learners in our middle schools, and hopefully that will really entice them to be, their attendance to be good and entice them to want to come to that. Right, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Pettit?
So we're bringing tonight to you a revision to the attendance policy for first reading, and we added a section that deals with kids, high school and middle school kids in particular, that move or that are granted a transfer and then want to come back to their boundary school. That in and of itself, we can say, yep, you have to sit for 365 days. What we've had happen is granted a transfer, played sports, moved in this area, and then want to come back.
Yeah.
So right now, we have to consider that a bona fide move because it's not in our policy. And that child then has established eligibility here, but now gets to play here again. So it's a loophole, and we're just trying to close it. So for whatever reason, they wish to return to their original boundary after the boundary transfer has been granted, they will be ineligible to participate in sports or in activities for 365 days. It just closes a loophole. So that's our request for first reading tonight. And then the second thing I have today for you is the out-of-state overnight travel requests. And we have 2 out-of-state, one for marching band, one for college and career, and then one to Boise. It's an overnight. And we've checked, they have sufficient male and female chaperones. We had an opportunity to educate our college and career advisors. They had all female chaperones. We're like, no, that doesn't work. You have to have male chaperones. So we're asking for approval on those overnight and out-of-state trips. And that's, yes, oh, I'm sorry.
It's on the
Yes, my
agenda.
yellow's an
Yeah.
addendum.
Okay.
So,
It's nice to
so,
look at the correct, yeah.
okay, questions? Okay.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is business operations. Bart, Reed.
Thank you, Chairman Mattson, board members, and Superintendent Howell. Our first item is the Idaho General Revenue Fund report. And as you can see, there's 2 months in the new fiscal year beginning July 1st. And the state's so far fairly close. We're within 0.5% of the state budget, just slightly under what they had hoped to be able to collect. So we're on a good trend so far, not too much off the mark. And you know, about the first 5 or 6 months are smaller revenue months than some of the larger ones that appear later, especially the one that occurs the last two or 3 months at the end of the year. But we'll keep watching this very closely. The one thing I think that we need to be mindful of is that there is not a significant revenue increase from the prior year in regard to the forecast. And so they're not expecting great things, but hopefully that we can stay the course where we did last year. And we had a pretty decent year last year overall. So that's the Idaho General Fund revenue report. Under item B, which are the eligibility percentages for our free and reduced meals, you can see that that percent continues to drop just ever so slightly. We're down now to about 45.24% for our free and reduced eligibility percentages. As you know, this is the second year coming into what they call direct certification, where a lot of that is done electronically now and the applications are done electronically. That helps eliminate a lot of the errors of where we cannot process some of these free and reduced applications. And I think this year overall, I haven't heard too much controversy or conflict about doing. I think parents are now more accustomed to doing that online as opposed to the paper and pencil process that we used to go through. What we can expect to see though in October is that those certifications and meals from last year will fall off in the month of October, so a month or 2 months from now. And then they'll have to renew all those applications. So we may see a little bit of a dip when we get to October, and then we should start picking back up again. So,
Bart, what about people who don't have access to a computer to do this online?
great question. So we have made accommodation for those parents. I mean, you don't absolutely have to do it this way, but in school during registration time, the food service department themselves, if they want to come down, we can help them go through the direct online process to do that. So we've tried to make every accommodation that we reasonably can to help parents that may not have access to internet or to a computer to make it easier for them. We do still accept the paper applications. It's just that many times there's a lot of follow-up questions in order to get that processed as quickly as we would like to get it processed. All right. Item C is an item that we talked with you about during the work session last week. This is a resolution to transfer the remaining debt service funds, which we have had now for the past couple of years as we have paid off our bonded debt. This resolution references Idaho Code Section 331120, which basically says that any money remaining in an interest and bond redemption fund after the issuance of these bonds can be transferred either to the school plant facility fund, or if you do not have a school plant facility fund, to the general fund of the district. Whereas we have a school plant facility fund, the recommendation is to transfer these remaining funds to the school plant facility fund to help offset the increased costs for the new project at Pocatello High School. So this resolution, is before you for approval, and this is required by Idaho statute in order for us to legally move the money from that fund to the school plant facility fund. Questions or anything from those that may not have been there? All right. The last item is from Neighbor Works. This is a non-binding proposal in regard to the former Bonneville Elementary School site location and property. And I think you've had an opportunity to look at the proposal. I know Mr. Dahlstrom is in attendance if you have any questions that you would like to ask him. This proposal, in summary, makes an offer to the district in the amount of $250,000 for the entire city block property, including buildings and the land itself. There is a $10,000 earnest money or escrow included in that proposal. Under item number 3, I think that you have had an opportunity to review this, which is entitled Asbestos Issue. There is a small amount of asbestos in the former Bonneville Elementary School building. Remarkably enough, there is not a tremendous amount there because of the way the school was constructed with a lot of old wooden gym floors, if you will, as opposed to some of the other products which included a lot of asbestos tile within the building. We have maintained an asbestos program for Bonneville and for all of our district facilities for a number of years. And so we feel very good about the fact that we know what is in that school as far as asbestos, some of the rooms that are identified where that may exist. Primarily it's in floor tile. And we have shared that information with NeighborWorks organization in regard to what we know is what they know at this point in time. Their condition with this proposal is that they would like the district to offset any costs that they might encounter in regard to asbestos against the purchase price of this building. So that would be something that you as a board will have to determine whether you feel that that is within reason or whether or not you would like to accept or reject that part of the proposal.
It just sounds like a blank check. They give us $250 and then we give it back to them because they find a bunch of asbestos in there, whatever, or anything in there. That just doesn't feel right. Can't we do this beforehand? Can't we take them over there and show them and get their testing people over there and look at it and see what's there, and we can see that it's $5,000 and fine. That's cool. But the way it was worded in here, and I can't find it right now, it just sounds like they got a blank check.
Well, and I feel like it's a very good price for that building. You know, I think it's a very reasonable price. And I think from what you've said about the asbestos, I would feel fine about it. And I like the idea that it's, from what I heard, the neighborhood in that area was happy about the idea of maybe having,
They were.
more housing and that there, which I'm glad to see it used for that purpose. And I'd be really happy with this proposal without the asbestos part in there. I could probably agree to everything with this except for the asbestos part, because I think that's just something they'll have to deal with, and I think that the price is reasonable enough that I don't think it should be a problem for them.
I see a couple of options that the board may wish to consider. One is you could accept the proposal as outlined, with the exception of approving the asbestos and seeing if Neighborhood Works would accept that offer. That would be one option. The other option would be, as maybe you indicated there, to direct the administration to go back, visit with Neighborhood, or I keep saying Neighborhood, but NeighborWorks, I have to get that in my mind, to visit with NeighborWorks and do more due diligence in regard to exactly what is there in that facility in regard to asbestos. I think that we know for the most part where it is within a certain rooms. Have them get a price cost estimate or proposal, and they could either bring that back for additional discussion with the board, meaning it's going to be $10,000, it's going to be $20,000, and that could either be offset or split, or we just say that's minimal, we're going to stand behind. So if you want to give us direction, we would be happy with whatever you might propose.
I would like your second one. Try
Okay.
that first. I don't know what they
I would be fine with
This
either.
is on the agenda
Oh.
for
Yeah.
action a little bit later.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Can we
Okay.
table it?
No, right
just
now.
tonight.
I know.
It's just getting it. And then
Later.
when it comes up as an action item, we can
Then you can
determine
have your
how.
discussion.
Then we
Okay.
can do.
Okay.
Add that Mr. Hirsch kind of echoed your comments that it's probably a pretty good price, and he didn't like the idea of the asbestos removal in the proposal as well.
Okay.
Okay, we will do that. I'll visit with Neighbor Works, and we'll see if we can come up with a little bit better game plan there that might be reasonable for them and for the district, and then we can visit about this again. Okay, thank you. I think that concludes my business with you.
Jane gets a real break.
Would you like to hear from?
Sure.
Yes.
That's okay, yeah.
Actually, can we wait until comment on?
time?
Yeah,
Okay, you bet.
that would be better.
So I'll wait until we hear from you.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Employee Services, Carl Smart.
Just have 3 short items on my section of the agenda tonight. As usual, we have our updates for our technology, IC, and Infinite Campus sort of things. Just to let you know, excuse me, our IC for the last year is all said, done, buttoned up, and sent off. So summer school was the last thing we had to do for that. So we will now just prepare for next year, and actually we have our next submission next month, in the next 3 weeks or so. So we'll be doing that. As far as the technology, they've been stressed out to get the school started, which is typical for them, because they have a lot of applications that they have to take the student data that we have when school starts and upload it and make sure that it's ready for all the teachers or whoever might be utilizing that data in those applications to have the most accurate data they have. And talking to the guys this week, it's much more calm back there because all those applications have been updated and ready to go. One thing they've been trying to do over the last several years is get to the point where kids have a single sign-on for a lot of the applications they do. And some of the applications are a little more friendly in that way than others, but they have been working diligently to make it happen. And they had some issues this last couple of weeks making most of that happen, but for the most part, it works fine and is nice for all those teachers to have a single sign-on for kids to do multiple applications, which is really nice. What's that? We need that for the board. You need that for the board too. So with that, I will just conclude that part of the agenda, and if you have other questions or comments, they have been doing a fine job back here, and our new director, our technology director, he's taken over that department and has done very well. Item B, student enrollment information. You have your data here in your packet tonight, and as you can see from some of the pages or sheets that we anticipated being down in elementary. We were losing some fairly good sized classes and moving them through. So when we see that elementary schools are down and high schools are up, which is what we anticipated because of that, we've talked about the bubble over the last several years, and that's an indication of that bubble moving through. I think we had some unanticipated loss because of some of the charter schools' increased enrollment. It did impact us. I think we were able to see some of that impact on our elementary numbers. And so we will give you or next month we will have a performance review of where we thought we were going to be versus what actually came in the way of enrollment. We always look at the last part of September, first part of October, and those numbers to give a good indication of where we are from one year to the next. And the last thing I have to report is our wellness dashboard. As you can see, we've talked the last several months about our dashboard being about in the 70 to 80% range, especially for medical, and how that would probably bode well for us in the next year. You can see on this particular one, August was at just about 92%, which is still darn good based upon that's when a lot of our folks have their procedures done during the summer, just so they don't have to deal with being gone while school's in session. So I tried to find the actual number before I came in here, but I couldn't find it in Shauna's directories. But our annual is somewhere between 80 and 85%, which is really, really good.
Yes.
So that's the good news. And so yeah, I won't go through all the other details on there, but that's really the one we really want to look at from one month to the next. And so unless you have other questions or comments, that concludes my report for tonight.
Thank you. And we're going to roll human resources to October, on the October meeting. And Superintendent, it's your turn.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, I have 3 items for you. One is the calendar, and as you can see, Ms. Johnson prepared you well ahead into November even. That's okay, because it helps us look forward to, this entire 3-month period with our ISBA conference, our state conference in Coeur d'Alene this year. So that gets you projecting out just a little further. Tonight, we had our student representative orientation and our board meeting. Then, as Mrs. Gephardt pointed out, we have our ISBA Region 5 meeting this Thursday, and that is 5:30. September 24th, next week, Instructional Technology Committee and RSVP to Renee, if you can attend that. That's downstairs in the training center. And then on Wednesday, we'll have Key Communicators Group. Sounds like we have our 2 representatives, Mr. Vitale and Mrs. Craner, to attend that. And then that evening, we have scheduled student discipline hearings, and I anticipate 1 right now. So DDRCs are held tomorrow, so we'll see if anything else comes out of that. On the 26th, District Curriculum Committee meeting, that's Mr. Manson and Mrs. Gephardt. And October 1st, board school visits. We have Ellis listed here. I'm not sure who's going to Ellis.
I think I go.
Okay. And then New Horizon is myself and Mr. Vitale.
No, myself. I think I'm going to New Horizons.
Are you coming with us?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe so.
Yes,
And then
CTE is.
CTE.
Oh,
Okay.
And
Mrs.
is
Gephardt,
Ellis-
listen to-
do we know where? Just here?
And is Ellis with Lori Craney?
Yeah, it will be. Uh-huh.
Ellis with
Yep.
Lori.
Where's the CTE meeting?
Wherever.
CTE board visit, but this
Oh.
time it's just Jamie doing it.
And she'll follow up with her to have you meet.
Yeah, she's,
Okay, all right. And I will make a note to have her contact you.
We just talked
First.
today.
Oh, did you?
She's on.
Okay, all right. I'll follow up though. And then work session on October 8th, beginning at noon. Then the Wednesday, the 9th, again, scheduled discipline hearings that evening. Local issues on October 11th at Perkins, 7:30 a.m. Columbus Day all day on the 14th of October, October 15th, Judge Murray, and we'll be back for a regular board meeting. And I think that takes us out about a month, and then you can look at your calendars and schedule out just a little bit further. Next up on my list is the ISBA board evaluation tool. Talked about that quite a bit last week at our work session. And so just to point out again that it's not a numeric scale, it's more informative with a Likert scale of poor to excellent, and 10 domains that the board will rank themselves, and we'll do that at our retreat, which we'll plan after the first of the year with any new candidates being seated as trustees after the November election. So we'll see how that goes. And then finally, for me, the continuous improvement plan for 2019 and 20. Again, we talked a little bit about that last week. We had 2 blanks spaces in there in regards to our goals. And I think it was on about page 9 or 10. Specifically, it is high school students graduating with an associate's or a CTE certificate. In 17-18, we had that blank filled in for you. It was 4.
Yeah.
We have the number of 22 for this past year, and our goal for the future will be, this current year, will be 50. And so with that, that completes that continuous improvement plan, and ask the board to adopt that tonight so that we can get it submitted to the state.
Before the October 1st deadline.
Exactly, yes. And so we're always calendaring ourselves to make sure we meet those deadlines. And I think those are my 3, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. And now it's time for public comment for items that are pertinent to the agenda. And I have one request, Eric Stewart. Yes, yes.
Thank you, Chairman Matsons and members of the board, Superintendent Howell and Ms. Johnson. I attended the work session last week. I had requested information. Information concerning the Pocatello High School renovation was requested at the work session September 10th, and a subsequent letter to Doug Howell September 11th. Information requested. I requested that the information be available to me to review at the Education Service Center. Architect report, useful life of a building, cost increase justification, cost estimate, architect design contract, and the architect design fee. The information that has been made available to me is part of the architect report. The goals, objectives, problems to solve, alternative solutions, public participation, and the cost increase justification. Information that has not been made available to me include part of the architect report, including existing conditions of mechanical and electrical for Pocatello High School. Future conditions, including student population capacity, cost estimates, chosen alternative, implementation and financial plan, the useful life of a building, cost estimates, architect design contract, and the architect design fee. I'm going to give you this letter, so I'm going to skip part of this letter. A couple of the items that are critical to me is the cost estimate and the architectural contract, which has not been provided. At the work session, there's a budget. It has numbers for those items, and that's my concern. I'm going to summarize this. I believe Bart Reed and Hummel Architect to be good and honorable people. However, I also consider approving a $9 million construction contract and a $581,000 architect contract without supporting documentation to be a reckless use of school district 25 patrons' money. That concludes my comments. I have copies for the board. I'll give those. So that concludes my question.
Renee. Okay, thank you. Mr. Dahlquist. Wherever you want to be.
Good evening. I'm Mark Dahlquist. I'm the Executive Director for NeighborWorks Pocatello. And Larry Bell is our board president, and he's here as well. That just a couple of comments to maybe put things in perspective, that the $250,000 price tag on the school, it is reasonable. That for our housing, however, our use, that we would of course have to demo the school, and we did get a contractor estimate on that, and we talked to Construction Services, and they're the entity that took down the old Bannock Hospital. And, you know, granted, it is one estimate at this time, but it was about $260,000 $70,000 to take the school down without asbestos. And on our costs for the building lots that we would, if we were to do the homes there, we would get roughly 18 of them there. And when you're adding up the cost to demo the school and the purchase, that's about $28,000 or so per lot. And for our houses right now, we're still finding lots for about $20,000 or $25,000. And so for this, it is higher than, you know, kind of normal what we're doing today. That even over on the 600 block of Wayne, that we're working on acquiring a 50-foot by 120 lot there for $20,000. So $500,000 would be about $28,000 per lot. And on the asbestos, that you know, Mr. Reed has been very forthright and you know, just real with the data, the reports that we have that, and we're, you know, the district has been very transparent with that so far. And as was indicated, that we think the asbestos, based on the reports, is pretty low there, and we're hoping it does not cost a lot to mitigate that you have to handle that in a different way. But kind of long story short, that we've done the pro formas to do a project there, and if we go over about $500,000 on our demo cost plus the acquisition cost, it doesn't start to you know, cost out for us. And so my board, just on the asbestos, that getting something in there for some kind of leeway, and maybe the way we've got it spelled out isn't the best approach, but you know, just if there is asbestos and there's more mitigation than expected, it's pushing above those levels on our pro forma. So it's just very tight right now, and we realize the land there's the economies of scale because there's lots of lots together, but just that margin for error was pretty slim. So we wanted to try to work out that contingency. I don't know if Larry has any comments, or, but that was the main thing.
One thing I would add, though, is if you, in our opinion, we feel that if you look at a different buyer, they're going to have the same concerns that we would have about the asbestos. So, you know, we think we need to get together and get something worked out.
Curiosity for me, do you have any idea about the cost of asbestos mitigation? I mean,
yeah, we don't. All we found out so far was it's about $10 a square foot to demo the building and create kind of raw land building space. But we know that, and that's how we projected our cost. But no, not yet. We'd have to use this kind of period of time to find out that more.
So are you, let me make sure, are you gauging the cost to demo there? And you mentioned using the company, or visiting with the company that did the old hospital.
Right.
Yeah, so is that your comparison, that you're using the old hospital?
Yeah, so far it is, yeah, and just.
Because that seems a lot more extensive, the old hospital did.
Yeah, well, they're just, they go off of dollars per square foot, and of course, the old hospital was much more than $250, but you know, we're going cost per square foot, so kind of comparing apples to apples there.
Okay, thank you.
Bart's got a question. Bart. Oh, Bart.
So I just wanted to add, just by way of reference, so this summer we had asbestos abatement that we did in Franklin Middle School. We abated the tile on the main floor and the whole upper floor, and you know that that's a pretty good sized hall as it makes the circle all the way around the school. Plus we did 13 classrooms, and that so that's a sizable amount of square footage that we had to abate there, and it was just over $50,000 for the abatement of that particular project there. Obviously Bonneville only has a total of about 22 or 23 classrooms overall. The majority of those classrooms do not have asbestos. I can't remember exactly from the plan how many of those classrooms may have, let's say 5 or 6. I think that we would probably be talking about an amount of money significantly under what I just expressed in relation to Franklin. So just by way of information to Neighbor Works and to the board, We're probably not talking a sizable amount. I think their concern is they just don't want to go over their margin that they have there and being able to sell that property back out. And I think as we work together, we can come up with a solution that we can come back to the board on, so.
Is that okay, Mark?
Okay.
Thank you, sounds good.
Okay, Larry. Thank you. Okay,
Second out, I think.
What- what'd you say?
I said they're just gonna have to set that cost up.
so
It's dirt cheap from what it's.
now we'll move to the action items. Let's see, the first item of business to hear the first reading of the following policy, 8106, district attendance areas and student transfer. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve policy 8106 on first reading.
Yes, just here.
Yeah.
Hear it on first reading.
First
I,
reading.
I will second that.
Okay, any discussion? Jackie? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is passed. The next item of business is to approve the out-of-state overnight travel request. Is there a motion?
I hereby move that the board approve the out-of-state overnight travel request as presented.
That's right there.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Or you can put it-
I'll second the
Okay,
motion.
you'll second, all right, good. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is passed. Next item of business is to adopt the resolution to transfer funds from the debt service fund to the school plant facilities reserve fund as if read into the minutes. Is there a motion?
I move that we adopt that policy to transfer funds as if read into the minutes.
I'll second
Second?
that.
Any discussion?
You
All
know,
those- Okay.
I feel like, with this whole Pocatello project, and the cost has gone up as we've moved along, but costs have increased everywhere as we've moved along. We all know that, housing in town, everything's gone up. And with the delays we've had with approval, of this,
It's gotten
the
worse.
same things happened with this project.
Yes.
It's gone up. And so, we realized that could happen and most likely probably would the longer, it got delayed. But I still feel that I'm pretty proud that we can do this project without going to our community for a bond.
Correct.
I have to say that.
Correct.
I feel really proud of this district and the management of our monies and things that we can do this project, which is a much-needed project for those students. And that's what it's all about to me, those kids. If you go and tour those facilities and see those science classrooms and the things they have there, we should have done this a long time ago, if we could have, but, and the money is there that we can do this, and I think that it's a really valuable thing for kids, and to me, that's what it's all about. So
Correct.
I'm proud that even though we have to transfer some of these other funds to do that, but that we can still offer it without going for a bond, and that we can do that for these kids. So I feel good. I don't feel that we're being irresponsible at all. I think we're doing the best we can for these students and without overtaxing our taxpayers. So I just
Well
needed to
said,
say-
Jackie.
Yeah, thank you.
Well said. Remember our last meeting with Hummel, and they showed us new plans or more refined plans, and we were the ones that added things
Right.
to make it better.
And then we scaled back a little in size to help save
Yes,
some money.
right.
Yes,
To help
Yeah.
save
Yes.
some money. So we
Yes.
tried to be fiscally responsible there. We scaled the hallway back and some other things that square footage wise would save money. So, and Hummel's tried to help us there too,
Yes,
I
they have.
think, so anyway,
But some of these things you only do once. I mean, is it 5,000 or 50,000 now? Or is it something that's gonna come down the pike and bite us later? I think we've done a reasonable job of trying to find a middle ground.
And frankly, we don't know what it's gonna cost. It's not out for bid. We don't know.
Not yet.
I mean, frankly, it's all a
Things
guess.
could change.
It's all a guess.
Right, yeah.
So,
So it's,
And it's their best estimate, you know, they look at,
Yeah.
and they're gonna look high.
Well, they do it all the time.
yeah, and so.
Yeah.
Okay. That's just, I wanted to say that before we voted.
Okay, going back, do we have a motion?
We did.
We
We did.
And a
Do we have a second?
second.
Okay,
And
any
discussion?
discussion? Oh, that's when you popped in,
Yeah.
the discussion. Okay, all right.
I could talk then.
Okay, there, well done. All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, this motion is passed. Next item of business to consider approving the neighborhood works proposal as presented or with amendments. I'd like to, I don't, maybe it's not tabling this thing, but I would like to go with the second amendment. Is that what it was called, the second option?
Okay.
That
Call for a motion.
call for a motion, okay?
Okay, I guess I would move that we consider approving the neighborhood works proposal with amendments.
But
Whatever.
you have
No,
to
no.
name.
Which
Do I have to name the amendments?
Yeah,
Okay, with the option that maybe Mr. Reed go back and try to work something out.
with the asbestos abatement.
Abatement.
Is
With
that what?
dealing with asbestos abatement.
Mhm.
Is,
I mean, you make
What?
the motion, but I'm wondering if we could just put a cap on the amount that we would be
You could do
willing
it that way
to do
too.
that.
Mhm.
From what Mr. Reed told us, the cap, $10,000 seems way, high, but I think that to say no more than
Okay.
X, it makes it much cleaner than just this pie in the sky sort of thing. I think that
so that we would offer up to 10,000 in
asbestos abatement,
asbestos abatement.
right.
Is that reasonable, Bart?
So if I may, Chairman Mattson, members of the board, it might be best to allow us to get into the school to get some cost estimates of what we're dealing with. I don't think what you're saying is unreasonable, but let's say the asbestos comes in at less than $10,000 or $5,000. There could be a proposal to share the cost between Neighbor Works and the school district. Maybe the board feels that we could pay up to X number of dollars toward that. I think it's, without really knowing what we're getting into, it would be my recommendation to allow me to work with Neighbor Works. Let us get in there with the professionals that give these cost estimates to do the abatement, see where we're at, and then I think we could present some options to the board for consideration that might be more realistic rather than trying to guess where we may be. So that's
maybe
just a
to
suggestion.
table it for now.
Yeah.
and-
That would be my preference. I'm not sure how Dr. Howell feels about that, but
I think that's a good idea.
I think that
Okay.
that's reasonable for all parties involved with this until we have more factual information of what we're really dealing with. And then we don't have to second guess ourselves, so.
Good.
Okay, so I guess I'll change my motion
Mhm.
that would move that we table this until, Mr. Reed has had, table this until next month, when Mr. Reed has had a chance to work with Neighbor Works and the process about.
I'll second that.
Okay. Obviously, we've had a discussion, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion is passed. The next item of business is to adopt the ISB Board Evaluation Tool. Is there a motion?
I move that we adopt the ISBA Board Evaluation Tool.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is passed. Final item of business is to adopt the continuous improvement plan for 2019-20. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the continuous improvement plan for 2019-20 as presented.
And I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is passed. And that concludes this meeting. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
And I will second that.
All those in favor?
For third.
Aye.
Aye.
The motion is passed, and we are adjourned.
Did you get 2 seconds or the first one?
I got it.
All right.
Paul and
It's a good,